The harshest silence is the kind that lingers after words you can't erase. We stood in the kitchen. She leaned against the counter, arms folded. Her eyes carried something unreadable. Maybe annoyance, maybe something colder. I froze mid-motion, a plate in my hands, when her words struck like a blow. No intimacy for a month. That's my choice. Her tone never wavered. No sorrow, no hesitation, just control. She didn't sound like someone guarding boundaries, but like someone showing power. A deliberate act masked as a decision. I studied her longer than I should have. Not because I didn't get it, but because I did. It wasn't about closeness. It was about control. A push to see if I'd beg, plead, lose composure. I refused to give her that. I set the plate down, dried my hands on a towel, said nothing. A single nod, then I walked out. Inside something shifted. No explosion, no loud break, just a sharp, quiet fracture. Small to the eye, but one that never heals cleanly. 6 years of marriage. We'd endured stress, short fuses, long days, miscommunication, yet I always returned, always tried. Her name is Rachel. The woman I married was open, tender, affectionate. She once ran to greet me at the door, laced her fingers with mine without thought, fell asleep on my chest whispering, "Don't let go." But something changed. Gradually, quietly, she stopped reaching. Our touch faded. The bed grew colder. Even our kisses turned into routine gestures, stripped of meaning. Still, I hoped it would fade. I told myself she was tired, overworked. Maybe I wasn't giving enough. So I gave more. Planned surprises, made her favorite meals, took her on trips, praised her daily, listened more, argued less, and when she pulled away, I gave her room. Yet no matter how much I poured in, she only drained me further. It wasn't just intimacy that vanished. It was attention, kindness, respect. That night, after her verdict, I hardly slept. I lay next to the woman who once curled into me mid-dream. She offered nothing. No explanation, no guilt, only silence. It wasn't protection. It was punishment. And I wasn't guilty of anything. That's when truth settled in. I was invisible inside my own marriage. So the next morning I rose before dawn. She lay on her side, sleeping peacefully. I looked at her. Not with anger, not with love, but with clarity. She believed I'd stay no matter what she withheld. That because I was steady, I'd endure forever. But no one stays where they aren't wanted. Not endlessly. I grabbed a small duffel, packed basics. Clothes, wallet, charger, keys. No note, no words, just silence. Left. For the first time in months, the weight lifted. I didn't go far, just to a friend's place. He didn't press, only gave me space. I told him I needed time. That first night I felt empty. Strange how quiet your mind grows when you stop trying to prove you're enough. Sitting on the unfamiliar bed, I asked myself, how did it get this far? I once raced home for joy. I once longed to hold her, just because. Now I couldn't recall the last time she looked at me with warmth. The hardest part wasn't the lack of touch. It was the weaponization of it. She used what mattered most to me as leverage. That wasn't love. That was power. She knew closeness defined me, and twisted it into punishment. That day, I faced what I'd avoided. Loving someone who doesn't value you is abandoning yourself. And I was done abandoning me. I turned my phone off, stepped outside, let the wind brush my face without rushing back. Oddly, I didn't miss her. Not the distance, not the coldness. She had crossed a line. And for the first time I didn't chase. No shouting, no pleading, no dramatic end. Just silence. And that silence wasn't surrender. It was strength. That morning I didn't leave to run away. I left to choose myself. Rachel never expected it. She assumed she could always pull away, test, dismiss until I broke. Then she'd claim innocence. But she never thought I'd simply walk. No drama, no fight, no second chances. Just gone. Her call came the next day. I let it ring. Didn't check more than a glance. Watched the screen fade black. It wasn't revenge. It was relief. More calls followed, then texts, then voice notes. All circling the same demand. Where are you? Not once did she ask why. Not once did she ask what hurt. Only disbelief wrapped in entitlement. Kept silent. That night, wrapped in a blanket on my friend's balcony, city lights glowing, I heard something rare: peace. No dread, no waiting for her touch, no need for acknowledgement. In that quiet I felt whole. By the following day, her tone shifted. Longer texts, urgent excuses wrapped as questions. Why are you doing this? I didn't mean it. Can we talk? That was the most effort she'd shown in months. Strange, isn't it? You give someone your heart daily and they ignore it. But the moment you stop, they panic. Still, I stayed quiet. Not to punish her, but to protect me. Replying would drag me back into the role I'd outgrown. The man who swallowed pain to avoid conflict, who poured endlessly hoping to be seen, who endured coldness because leaving was scarier. That man no longer existed. Her messages multiplied. On the third day, she called 12 times. I ignored each one. Out of curiosity, not desire, I listened to a voicemail. Her voice shook. She sounded shattered in a way I hadn't heard in years. I didn't mean it. Please come back. We can fix this. But the truth was clear. I wasn't the one who was lost. I didn't need fixing. She had always known who I was. What she never expected was that I'd stop letting her cast me as a side character in her story. The woman who once declared there'd be no intimacy for a month was suddenly pleading for connection. Not because she regretted it, but because the balance of control had shifted. It had never been about space or healing, it was always about dominance. And when I stepped away, she didn't know how to keep playing. She wanted normal again. But normal meant me shrinking. Her deciding when I deserved affection. That wasn't love, it was dependence. That day I hit the gym, walked outside, bought myself dinner, and ignored my phone completely. For the first time in over a year, I wasn't suffocating under her moods. I wasn't calculating her reactions or bracing for the next blow. I was simply present. By the fourth day, she went silent too. Maybe hoping I'd fold. But she didn't recognize this version of me. The one who finally put himself first. The one who realized love without respect isn't love at all. The next morning, a voice note arrived. Her tone was different. Hesitant, soft. I've been thinking. I know I've been pushing you away. I didn't mean to. I was angry. Please, can we talk? I didn't reply. Not because I felt nothing, but because some wounds don't mend. When someone chooses to hurt you, regret doesn't rebuild trust. It wasn't about her apology. It was about what it revealed. That night had never been about boundaries. It was about testing my limits. Daring me to break. Except I didn't. I walked out. And my silence became a mirror she couldn't face. If I had gone back, the cycle would have repeated. A brief spell of closeness, then distance again. Because she wasn't reflecting, she was reacting. And reaction isn't growth. Regret isn't change. You can't dismiss someone, deny them affection, strip them of worth, and expect them to run back when you're ready. People aren't safety nets. And I wasn't her fallback anymore. Her apology arrived, but it was too late. Not because of anger, because I'd healed. No one tells you about that stage. When the apology comes after the wound has already scarred. When you're no longer desperate for closure because you've moved beyond it. It had been 21 days since I left. No dramatic exit, just a quiet walk away. And in those weeks I changed. I started sleeping soundly. No spiraling thoughts, no replays of her words. The anger faded. What stayed was freedom. One Wednesday I sat outside a cafe, reading for the first time in years, when her name flashed on my screen. I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. I really messed up. You didn't deserve that. I lost control. I wish I could take it back. Please, can we talk? For the first time she admitted fault. Not we both messed up. Not you left me. Just I messed up. Once, those words would have undone me. Would have felt like a lifeline. Back when I believed that if I held tighter, tried harder, loved deeper, she'd finally love me back the way I needed. But that man was gone. The man reading that message was calm, steady, whole. I had already grieved what I thought we were. I had already mourned the warmth that faded while I kept trying. The version of Rachel who weaponized closeness, dismissed my needs, and treated me as optional had lost me long before I walked out. She just hadn't noticed. People like that always assume you'll stay. They confuse silence for weakness, loyalty for surrender. But even the quiet ones leave eventually. And when they do, they don't return. She tried again, smaller this time. I miss you. Can we talk? Then another. I don't know who I am without you. That one struck differently. I had whispered those same words once, staring into a mirror, feeling like a ghost, giving everything and receiving scraps. But now I knew exactly who she was without me. Someone with no one left to control, no one left to blame. And me. I was rediscovering the parts of myself I had buried. I didn't need to prove anything anymore. I took a new job, slower pace, more freedom. I reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in years. Each of them said the same thing. You look lighter. They were right. I ate better not for looks but for strength. I no longer dragged myself through days pretending everything was fine. And then, something I hadn't expected happened. I met someone. Not in a bar, not through an app, but in a bookstore. Her name was Claire. She didn't ask about my past. She just smiled like she already understood. We talked for an hour without once glancing at our phones. She laughed at things I didn't even realize were funny. She listened, truly listened. It wasn't sparks or chaos. It was peace. And that's how I knew. I didn't want to look back. Not because Claire replaced Rachel, but because Rachel belonged to a closed chapter of my life. I didn't hate her. I didn't wish her harm. I just didn't need her anymore. That's real freedom. One evening I sent a final message. I hope you find what you're looking for. Take care. She read it instantly. No reply. That was fine. Not every ending is loud. Some are quiet, like the gentle closing of a door. A quiet understanding that it's finished, that the break is real, and moving forward doesn't need permission. Rachel taught me something I'll never forget. Love is never meant to be a weapon.